once she realized that the press were onto her and that she'd better do something about it, she made sure that she gained weight after Archie's birth. So Archie showing that he was inspired by Tom Daley. Let's go diving.
Breaking right now, growing questions over Meghan Markle's friendship with Jamie Kern-Lima and why they bonded. The Royal Rogue posted on X doing some research about Jamie Kern-Lima, and it's brutal how she grew a makeup business from 0 to 1 billion plus L'Oreal acquisition in 8 years. That was pure grind on QVC, a sales TV channel where she appeared up to 200 times a year. She acted and sounded way more authentic back then, though. Meghan could never. But they are friends right now. Lima says it like 1,000 times during the interview, so they must have something in common that we don't know. And what he's getting at is the fact that Jamie Kern-Lima, and she has posted about this on Instagram, she's very open about it, is one of the world's most famous parents via a surrogate. She's been incredibly open about being on that journey. And the suggestion, Lady Colin Campbell, seems to be that maybe that's the way that these two women bonded. What do you think?
Well, incidentally, Dan, to answer the question but make an observation, she was also adopted. Jamie Kern-Lima was adopted. And of course, I have 2 adopted children. So, and she loved her mother. She loved her mother. So I think I give her full marks for that. You can depend on it that Meghan will never admit to anybody that she did anything but pushed those 2 babies out from between. And I don't need to describe any further. Because also we're not going to go down channels that are so heavily trafficked, but in more ways than one, if you get my drift. But the fact of the matter is that there would be a bond, and it doesn't have to be a declared bond, because Jamie Kern-Lima will know that many people believe that Meghan's children were delivered via surrogacy and not via nature. So could that be a bond? I think where Meghan is concerned, all dollar bills are green and everything in the world needs to be green. And everything else, I think, is basically of little or no importance. That's just my take on her as a personality. I could be wrong, but I don't think that you will find that there is going to be loads of confessions and conversations. Meghan is what is known as a pathological liar. She lies to everybody, and she lies even when she's caught out in a lie. She tells another one to cover up for that lie and to explain her way out of the lie. And there is no doubt that whatever happened during those Megnancies, the whole thing was highly irregular, and those baby bumps performed in a way that no woman who has given birth recognizes them as having functioned. And I have spoken to doctors, nurses, endless women who've given birth, and they all say the same thing. Of course, Meghan has been clever enough that once she realized that the press were onto her and that she'd better do something about it, she made sure that she gained weight after Archie's birth. And let's not forget that she was then aware that there was a tremendous amount of interest primarily on social media by people who had investigated the issue. And they observed that Meghan had never gained weight during her pregnancy. The weight gain came after her Megnancy. And so her response for the next delivery was that she gained some weight before Lily was born, and has the photographs to prove it. So Archie showing that he was inspired by Tom Daley. Let's go diving.
Now, ladies, I have to speak about some odd antics with Prince Harry this week, which have been very much overshadowed by Meghan's glut of publicity, which we know, by the way, is all to distract from the fact that Confessions of a Female Founder, her new podcast, has been a massive flop, has fallen out of the top 100. So that's why we're getting this huge amount of publicity. But Harry was acting very strangely at this Living Legends of Aviation event. And I just want to show you a couple of pictures first up. So this was the Commentator USA who posted on X, "Hey Harry, is that a shiner?" And actually, I've looked very closely at the image, which was run on People magazine, because lots of people online were trying to say, oh, it's been manipulated in some way. But obviously People magazine have put the red circle, but we don't know if it's been manipulated. What we do know, however, is that he was incredibly unhappy on the night. Now, there's potentially a whole load of reasons for that. I mean, as Meghan's mole pointed out, Prince William was attending the funeral of Prince Francis while Prince Harry was cracking jokes for Hollywood elites like a clown. What a difference. He had been dragged to New York for that Meghan Time 100 event, even though Meghan wasn't in the Time 100, where he sort of had to clap along like a bag carrier, and he didn't look very happy in that moment. Have a look at this. Then he turns up to give his own speech, Lady Colin Campbell, and he goes off script, and it just doesn't go well at all.
I feel like I picked the short straw. Not for being up here, but someone had to host a bunch of pilots and firefighters. That's where they are. There are five tables. I agreed with the organisers and make a good idea. Let's get them along. But I did not agree to hosting 2 of the tables. Kurt, Morgan, thank you for the support. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life that reveal a great deal about who we are.
And as it turned out, he was literally at the event for like 11 minutes. He was pictured arriving on stage at 7:15 p.m, leaving at 7:26 p.m. And even though I haven't been able to find video of this, Lady C, Kurt Russell said, "Unfortunately, living legend Harry has to leave early tonight. Who else will pick the berries for his wife's raspberry soup?" Which obviously is sort of going to be like a punch in the guts for Harry, isn't it? Because, you know, Lady C, there's always great truth in comedic lines like that. So what's going on? Do you think he's injured himself in some way? And why was he acting so weirdly at this event? I'm looking at you, Lady C. Scratch, itchy nose. Another itchy nose.
No idea at all. But, I mean, maybe he collided with a door. I mean, there are many people when they're happily married who collide with doors. It's very often actually a sign of how happy a marriage is, that people collide with doors. And maybe he collided with a door. It's quite possible, but it's also possible that when he was colliding with the door, or maybe before he collided with the door, or maybe after he collided with the door, he was so discombobulated that he slipped and fell. I mean, these are things that happen, especially when you are a turbulent partner in a turbulent relationship. Of course, I mean, anybody can slip and fall and hurt themselves. And I would not be at all surprised that Harry slipped and fell and hurt himself. The thing is, sorry, why was the makeup not done better? I mean, Meghan knows all about concealment. I make that point for what it's worth.
They needed to get Jamie Kern-Lima there, didn't they? Now, I mean, what's most astonishing is that we learn that his fee to appear at these events, Lady Colin Campbell, is between $500,000 to $750,000. But I think what shocked me is that we now know he's so desperate for money. So it's Gotham artists who are looking after his public appearances, right? But usually, Lady C, if you're a big name and you are trying to get that sort of money, but you also want to maintain some sort of dignity or some type of class, you say to your agency, or your agency agrees with you, that you're not actually going to put your fee publicly on the website. But Harry is now listed with that fee under the category big names, headliners, star power. And again, Lady C, I just thought, wow, this shows you not only how desperate he is, but just how much Megxit hasn't worked. Because imagine if 5 years ago you were saying he was going to be literally pimping himself out to any organization that could afford $500,000. You can buy your prince. But first, the reason you're watching this show is that it's becoming increasingly difficult. I mean, look at everything we've been talking about. To trust mainstream media or the so-called fact checkers who claim to determine which facts are true. And for good reason, given the ongoing debates over free speech, the controversy surrounding Brexit, and how Trump and other anti-establishment politicians are portrayed. But I have the solution for you today. It's called Ground News, and it's the best way to stay informed and cut through media bias and manipulative narratives so you can get the facts for yourself. It's been a game changer for a news junkie like me. See for yourself at ground.news/outspoken. But I want to show you this incredible website and app in action. So let's take the recent landmark decision by the UK Supreme Court that ruled that women can only be biological adult human females, reversing years of trans extremism. And you can see clearly in one place that over 350 sources around the world are covering this story. Ground News instantly shows how the story has been covered by the media, broken down by whether it leans left or right, illustrated by its bias distribution chart. If you scroll down, you can see every headline about the story, along with the political bias and ownership of the publication. So we can see quite clearly for ourselves that on the right, the Daily Wire covered the case very accurately with the headline. I love this headline actually. UK Supreme Court rules trans identifying men are not women. Spiked Online. Oh, I love Spiked Online. They were even more forthright, declaring women exist. Get over it. And the Daily Telegraph looked in depth at the disgraced famous faces who declared trans women are women. By stark contrast, the left-wing National in Scotland said the result was only a victory for gender-critical feminists. And the ludicrous Canary ran with the clearly insane headline, "Victory for the far right," as Supreme Court rolls back trans women's rights by 2 decades. Far right. I mean, come on. You think J.K. Rowling's on the far right now, do you? They have lost the plot. My favourite feature, though, is their blind spot feed, which surfaces upwards of 20 stories daily that receive the majority of coverage from one side of the political spectrum. If you love the news like I do, the blind spot feed is the best way to get a balanced perspective on what's happening. So go to ground.news/outspoken or scan the QR code on screen to subscribe today, and you will get 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use for unlimited access. Let me repeat the address: ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Well, Dan, you're absolutely right. And if you recall, he got $1 million from JP Morgan when they were still in Canada, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and a private jet, and it was to Miami, I think, wasn't it?
And they spent the night at Serena Williams's house. It's outside of Boca Raton. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it's near where one of my sisters lives, and so he got $1 million for that. The mere fact that they are putting that his fee is 500 to 750 tells me that, in fact, that is the optimistic figure, but that, as I'm sure you will know, is code for you will be able to get him for much less, but everybody is going to think outside of the industry that this is what you had to pay for him. And the press will go with the fact. So say you're going to get him for much less, but you're going to have the benefit of the prestige of being able to boast and say that you got him for between 500 and 750. Don't you think that's a part of the equation?
Of course, but I mean, it's still utterly mortifying.
Distasteful. I mean, it shows how the depths to which they have sunk. It shows to what extent Brexit has failed. It shows how desperate they are to hustle, and that they are royals for rent. You know, they used to mock Prince and Princess Markle, who were never, ever on the civil list, incidentally. And whenever they did charity things, they had to pay out of their own pockets for cars, etc. But the press used to mock Prince and Princess Markle as royals for rent, because sometimes they were given fees for attending events. Now, I happen to know what those fees were because I happen to know some of the people who paid them. But I'm not going there. I'm simply using that as an example of how the press mocked Prince and Princess Markle unfairly because they were not on the civil list. But nobody is mocking Harry and Meghan as they are prostituting themselves and their royal rank in a desperate attempt to fund a billionaire lifestyle and hopefully turn themselves, and it's folly, it's not a realistic hope, into billionaires. It's never going to happen. I mean, she would have to sell so many hundreds of millions of pots of sick flavored raspberry flavored vomit that I mean, and who's going to
you don't become a billionaire from jam. I mean, this is the thing. She's not a business brain, because if she'd had any sense, she would have launched a cosmetic range. That is where you become the billionaire. That's where Rihanna and Kylie Jenner and all of those people have made all of their money. But she's not a great business brain at all. Lady C, though, there was a threat this week. Now, we've been talking about this for ages, right? We have been talking about it for so long that Meghan doesn't want to write her autobiography yet because ideally she wants to do it post-divorce, because that's where the real money will be. It will set her up for the rest of her life. And also, it's very awkward if she writes a book now and has to say lots of positive things about Prince Harry, when after the divorce, she's going to want to throw him under the bus along with every member of the royal family. And in the interview with Jamie Kern-Lima, I mean, there's so much from it, so this has been lost a little bit this week. She specifically raises the prospect of a memoir. And there is very much an undertone of threat in her answer, because she says, not yet, Harry. Not yet. Watch what she said and then I'll get your reaction.
Ever write another book?
Yes, maybe, for sure. I think, I love right now working on everything in the space of hospitality and home and entertaining and food and those sort of tips, and something like that I think could be really fun. Of course, children's books are great. And then, I think people are often curious if I'm going to write a memoir, but I've got a lot more life to live before I'm there.
A lot more life to live. A divorce to live. Because, of course, Lady C, look, we'd been reporting it for years, but this went mainstream when Vanity Fair confirmed the fact that she had been shopping the post-divorce book to publishing companies in their big expose on 5 years of Megxit. So the threat is still there. It's like she thinks she's being clever, but it's so obvious that the threat is now there, not just to the royal family, but to Prince Harry too.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. But the fact of the matter is, Dan, her technique is to threaten and to imply and to get people to pick up the knife that she throws down. I mean, she's actually a very sneaky, rather cowardly, underhand bully and abuser. And she's going to write a memoir, but she has more life to live yet. Well, she better be careful, because I can tell you something. There is no way Meghan would make, no matter how sensational and how much her memoirs were and how many people believe them, there is no way she would make more than about $20 million tops. She would have to pay tax on that. She would, so she's going to end up with a lot less than 20 million. And I'm afraid the way she lives, 20 million is not going to go very far. So anybody who thinks that would set her up for life is wrong. It would set her up for a year, 2, maybe 3, if she pulls in the reins, 4 years tops. And she needs all of the status symbols that go along with being a member of the elite, because she knows without them, she is exposed as the tacky, rather sordid little creature that she is. So while a genuine princess or a proper duchess will show up at the event without security, she needs to show up with 4 vehicles. And where a proper princess or a royal duchess would wear a pair of earrings and maybe a necklace that was worth £800,000, but you wouldn't know it. Meghan has to wear something worth $10,000 or $20,000 and leak it to everybody that it came from Cartier or one of those jewelry houses that she's pushing, as if, and often it's $3,000, $4,000, as if classy people are going to be interested in buying that rubbish. Now, I'm not denigrating the fact that people can't afford the £800,000 parole. What I am denigrating is her pretentiousness in setting herself up as this superior being, when in fact, to people who rarely know about these things, she is still scraping along the bottom of the barrel in a very real sense of the word. It's pathetic.
Pathetic is the word. Pathetic is absolutely the word, Lady Colin Campbell. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.